Now, let me go to the other end of the spectrum, and we're certainly brushing over many, many chapters in your numismatic life. But let's go now forward to the museum. And you must have thought long and hard as to what you would do with this fabulous series of collections that you put together. And in the end, you decided I will build a museum right here in St. Louis.
Well, here's the situation. I had a great, lovely collection of coins, and then I earned a living as a lawyer, and we were very fortunate to be able to travel around the world a great deal, and I worked awfully hard, and so my wife and I decided that, I started in 58. In 1958, I formed a corporation, a not-for-profit corporation, to help other people write in numismatic literature and to help them do research. And because I was, by that time, I was doing a lot of wonderful research in numismatics and so on. So I wanted to help others, and I would furnish other people with material, and I would review their writings if they wanted me to, and I wanted to encourage writing. So I formed this organization, which was a not-for-profit organization, and that went on for a number of years, and I began to give coins to that organization so that it was a benefit to me, because by this time coins had gone up in value a reasonable amount, and that gave me an income tax deduction that was solid, and you couldn't object to it. And so I began to build a little collection. And then about 1980, one of the banks downtown had a more space in their bank building than they needed, and I went down to them and I said, look, I can put in a money museum there, and that would be good for the public, and we'd educate the public, and let me see if it would attract people to the bank. And so we put in a museum downtown in St. Louis. So I operated that for about 15 years, and then 15, let's see, yeah, I guess maybe 20. Well, whatever. So this bank, I never had an argument. I ran the thing all by myself. I had a curator, and everything was fine. And then the banking laws changed, and banks started to absorb each other, and then this bank president, who had a stock option, decided that he could sell the bank to another bank, and his stock option would be worth more, and it would help his stockholders make more money. So he said that it kicked me out for my museum, and to rent the property so that it could increase his bottom line money and therefore increase the value of the stock of the bank. So out I went on the street with no place to go, and I was absolutely devastated. In other words, here I had done all this for nothing and benefited the public, and I was thrown out just because they wanted to make money. So I didn't do anything. I just kept everything in a storage area for a number of years, and then finally, after long negotiations, Washington University in St. Louis had a new art building that was going to go up on their campus, a new museum, and I said, do you have any space? Oh, they said they didn't have any space. And I said, well, let me look at your plans. I looked at the plans and saw that their basement was being used for storage of material and supplies and what have you. And I said, well, how about you making the storage room under the grass next to the museum and give me the storage room? And they said, well, maybe that's a good idea. So I built the museum into the basement of this Kemper Museum, and we opened that in 1993. And so we're just delighted. The public loves it, and I'm able to demonstrate and run the whole museum myself through my foundation. So now that's, you can ask any other questions, but that
you
gives...
You still have what you had in the original educational foundation. Do you still have students coming in and working on parts of your collection to...
Yes, I welcome anybody. We don't only have a very small part of our collection in the display cases in the museum. We keep the rest of the collection locked up in various bank safe deposit vaults. So we only display a small percentage. But anybody that wants to come here, and we have groups come Central States had a meeting here, and EAC has a meeting. They all come, and we give them a lecture, show them anything, or show them our library. We have the main parts of our library. We have about 10,000 numismatic books in our library.
Oh.
And so we can't keep all. We have another storage area at the university for our minor library, all the auction catalogs and all that junk. And we keep the lovely parts of the library in the museum, and we don't open that to the public. They can peek through and see some of it, but we anybody who signs in and wants to do any work in our books, we take care of that.
What there must be something in your museum that would attract metal collectors, particularly given that you have Benjamin Franklin sitting right there in the foyer or wherever.
Well, the metal collectors are just a very wide, large group in numismatics, and there's so many groups in numismatics. We're interested primarily in money, and so naturally any metal that is related to money we would be interested in. So we have in the museum the Continental Dollar of 1776 and the medals relating to that. And we have a lot of Franklin material because of his contribution. We have a lot of medals for Franklin. And we have medals relating to Indians. And we have, you're an expert, I believe, on Indian peace medals. We have the Shoto.
Shoto, yeah.
The Shoto medal in
fur trade medal.
The what?
The fur trade medal.
Missouri outfit.
At the Upper Missouri outfit.
Yeah, that's right. Well, we have that medal in there. In the Native American exhibit, as well as all the paper money issued by the Native Americans and wampum and all of the images of Native Americans on coinage and so forth. So those are just some of our displays. So we work medals in as long as they tie into money. The medal field is so broad and so wide in because it has anniversaries and honoring people and birth celebrations and festivities and cities and in other words, the metal field is so wide from a number of points of view. It gives artistic people the opportunity to create beautiful things where money is limited to usefulness and standardization, and the metal field gives everybody an opportunity to create artistry. And so it's a very broad field, and it can be done collected at a much more reasonable cost than coinage and currency can in a lot of situations. And the metal field, of course, can be made so broad that they celebrate ridiculous things, and so you have to be very careful in the metal in that field, metal field, to get choice items and not to be diverted into a lot of childish stuff that comes out.
Well, if you were asked to advise metal collectors in how to find a fertile field or two in which to do research, how and where would you point them? They have to read what has been written and what has been studied in metals before they begin to do this. They have to decide whether they're interested in European metals, whether they're in South American metals, American metals, what. They have to be trained in that first before they can tackle something that is as complicated as the metal field. And then they have to decide what period of time is the most interesting to them. The whole idea of you've got to be very careful in metals to get into a field that is intellectually interesting and artistically interesting, and then the events that are commemorative in the metal field have to be important and not trivial. So you have to make a lot of decisions before you can do that. Then it's wide open, and you got to read and you got to study all of the beautiful things that have been written in any field in numismatics before you can begin to write. And then that's the encouragement is to have people research and find new things and then write about them. And you've got to be able to distinguish between trivial stuff and important things. That's very hard because you can get hung up on a die break in a metal or a coin or something, which is absolutely disinteresting to most people but of course a lot of people just love technical changes in the what comes out of the striking of dies. What makes the large cent field go around?
Well, that's because the dies at that time were hand cut. And when you have hand cut, then you have differences. Those are legitimate differences. That's entirely different from modern metals, which are modern coinage, which can be knocked off one after the other by the thousand, and the reproduction of the dies with other dies can be done so that there's virtually no difference. So the early period is the period before, let's say 1830 is wonderful from the coinage point of view, but after that it changes very substantially.
John Sallay, you have been very patient and very silent. John is a marvelous collector, Eric, and a marvelous student. And for him to sit here in silence while I get the great pleasure of asking questions, he must be biting his tongue.
Well, keep. We got enough, or have we?
If you don't mind, we could keep going for a few more.
No, I don't want to. I just wanted you to know that I encourage writing, and I've been writing ever since. Oh goodness, my Wait Raymond made me write my first thing about 1949, and encouraged me. And Fred Boyd encouraged me tremendously. So I was, and then I had been trained by Johnson, as I say, but I didn't write anything because Johnson was very, very conservative and very modest, and he never wrote anything, but he knew it all. But then they all encouraged me to write, and so I've written steadily since for almost 60 years, and on all kinds of subjects. And I only pick a subject that hasn't been written on before. I do not rehash. That's one thing that you must encourage. Don't copy and don't rehash what's been written before. If you don't have something new, don't write it. And that's very important.
Which of your writings are you most proud of? Everything that you've written over the last...
I'm just a workaholic. I love it. And it's not a... I just finished the 5th edition of Early Paper Money of America. And so I began that in 1967, I think. And now it's 5th edition and it's much enlarged. And I keep learning and adding and to the subject, and everybody is nice to me and send me what they learn and what they don't learn, and I have to work with them, and that's so nice. They're reprinting my Ken Burdette and I wrote the 1804 fantastic 1804 dollar that was written in 1962 when I got into a fight over some forged coins, altered coins, and got interested in the 1804 dollar and wrote up the definite proof as to show that it was made in 1834 and was not authorized and was a fake done by the mint people to fool people. And they did fool them for quite a while. And so that book is being reprinted now as the kind of an honorary, I don't know what they're doing, but Whitman Publishing Company is putting out the book over again with some discussions as to things that happened in its preparation, because all kinds of new information came just when the book was being published in 1962.
The King of Siam set came into the market.
We what?
The King of Siam set came into the market.
Yeah. So that's correct. So we had to change it because we learned some, but we've learned a little more since. But at least our logic of that period has now been accepted, and it sure wasn't for an awful long time.
Now, that was a very courageous story to tell, because there were huge vested interests that didn't want to believe you or hear you.
That is correct. Well, that's part of my life. I try to think straight, and I try to think fairly, and I don't want to hurt anybody. And but nobody gets me in a corner and starts to abuse me, because then I'm very careful and very forceful, you know very well that all that happened in the Sheldon theft from A&S, and I went through 10 years of litigation. They dismissed with the wrong guy. And I had no... Numismatics gets very rough sometimes, and I never lose my temper about it, but I work hard to do what's right.
Are there any stories that you're aware of, like the history of the $1804 or the Sheldon issues that you think have not been told well yet, that would be a good subject for someone?
No, the Sheldon matter is there's still some Sheldon coins that are stolen coins that are out there and in the hands of people who know they're stolen. Some may be that in the hands of people who don't know they're stolen, but we got back maybe 75% of them or more, and it's rough. And I don't need any more litigation in my life to amuse me. I have enough problems just writing on more exciting things. I'm writing now 3 or 4 different items at the present, and I hope they're interesting.
What are you working on now?
Well, I don't think I ought to discuss that until they're published. So, would you excuse me in avoiding that?
Certainly.
And now, let me see if there's anything that I think it's very important for writers to contact other people who work in the same area. You know, some people feel that if they tell people something, they've discovered something or whatever, and they tell people about it, that the other people will jump in and publish it before they have the opportunity to write it up in their own way. And I always encourage people to trust others to accept information and to give information and to share that sort of thing. And that if it's necessary to write something together with somebody else, you sometimes have that opportunity, and it's very beneficial. A lot of people feel very, self-centered, so that they want to write and they want to be the authority on X, Y, or Z. And I don't think that helps the numismatics or any other field, because now people work in teams, because teams of the human brain seem to be able to do many, many more things than individuals from time to time working on the same subject. So I encourage writing, and let me see if I have anything on here. In your metals field, you have certain people who have demonstrated their artistry. I mean, like Victor Brennan and naturally St. Gaudens. These are master artists who devoted their talents to coins. And so they're getting their share of aggrandizement, and they each did a lot of medals. And so the tie-in there is very important. To have coins of that kind of quality tie into the medallic work that they do. Now, I think that's this is enough of a blast, and
it's not a blast, and it's absolutely perfect. We've imposed on your time too much, but
this is just
you rang the bell time after time.
Where Sally lives? Where?
I live in the not too far away from John Adams, in the Boston area.
Where?
In Weston.
Weston?
Yes.
Is that is that on Highway 128?
Yeah, it's just west of 128. And you had mentioned MIT earlier. I went to MIT.
You did?
Yeah.
What period?
Class of 77.
I see.
And so,
well, we're very close to MIT still, and so that's they're doing miraculous work.
It's a great place.
Well, it's this is what happens when you have the ability and opportunity to select the best minds, and then you train them. And as I always say at MIT, they asked me what I learned there. I said I can sum it up in 4 words. They taught me to think straight and then keep thinking. And that's all I learned at MIT, and that was the training that happens when you're there, and it's just lucky that people throughout the world now are working into the MIT system and helping humanity straighten out a lot of problems.
Yeah. Well, Eric, we really appreciate your.
Well, I have so much fun. You know, I just wish everybody had the opportunities that I had to enjoy numismatics and to still enjoy it. And I'm so lucky to have most of my marbles. All my friends are dead. I only have a couple that are Alzheimer's that are my age and still my friends. And this is people, by virtue of MIT's work and other medical work, we're going to start to live till 125 years or so very soon, and when more medical work is finished. And so I'm just so lucky to be this far along and be able to talk to you guys who are much younger and still can do so much for numismatics.
Well, thank you once again. We really appreciate it.
Okay, I blasted too much, and now I'll go eat and rest. Thank you so much for asking me.
Well, thank you for your time, for your wisdom, Eric. Both your time and wisdom will be very much appreciated by not only our membership, but anybody else who, after you've looked at and listened to what you've said, will dial into the website and hear it. I think this is a great vehicle to, if you will, distribute wisdom such as you have.
Okay, good luck to all of you, and thank you for asking me again. Bye-bye.
Okay, thanks again. Bye-bye.